Atypical Artists and Lillian Holman present Greenhouse. Letter 3. Have you ever cried over pastry?
Dear Abby, oh my God, you really didn't take my suggestion about brevity, did you? Also, while I may understand your legitimate reluctance to take up your mantle as proud daughter of the American Revolution, now it sounds like I'm writing to an advice column. Have you tried Gail? Or Ab? Maybe I'll go with Dear A. Anyway, you're in luck because for some reason that higher power you don't believe in hates me and my internet is out. You may be as skilled as the other Abigail Adams when it comes to technology, but for me, no internet means my world stops until they fix it, and I'm so far from thrilled. I figured I'd take the moment to respond to your novel, though, since now it won't take away from the 5 new shows I'm supposed to be watching and recapping. As for your question, I'll try to recommend stuff, but since we don't know each other very well, it may be hard. I also lean very hard into some fantasy shows that are not sparing in their violence, and it sounds like it may make you sick. Don't worry about whether this is a professional imposition. Honestly, I'd rather talk about shows than pretty much anything else. Also, hey, I guess I'm paying you anyway, if only through my father's estate. And I guess that means that my brother is now paying you. I'm not really sure. Legal shows have always bored me, and it turns out that lawyers in real life do as well. The only thought that came to me in my sad current internetless existence was that you may like one of my new shows, since you like books and seem like, you seem like a romantic of sorts. Anyway, someone decided to pull a Clueless with Jane Eyre and made it a miniseries, and it'll be out in 2 weeks. They kind of hit you over the head with the class stuff, but the romance, it's steamy. They got one of those actresses with the big silent film star eyes to play Jane, so that's fun. I'm going to see where they go with it. But if the Wuthering Heights sitcom from last year is any indication, we can't all be Amy Heckerling. As for being able to find my reviews, well, that's why I use a pseudonym. Both the combo of my father's name and the pressure of somebody I actually know reading my opinions on something make it next to impossible for me to write if I don't change the byline. Maybe someday I'll tell you what my fake name is. But as Aragorn says, it is not this day. Does he say that in the book? I realize you've probably not seen the movies, but if you are as well-read as you claim to be, I can't imagine you skipped over Tolkien. Well, then again, I did, but I don't think I have the same attention span as you. Oh, by the way, speaking of references, your Remember the Daisies joke is killing me. Is that Austin? I feel like it's cheating to Google it, but I'm getting desperate. My brother and I used to play a game when my dad made reference to something to see who could go the longest without checking IMDb. He's not as stubborn as me, though, so I usually won. I also think he let me win a few times. He's a big teddy bear. I have a feeling you and my brother would get along. It was that big warm hug line that gave it away, because I'm not a hugger. Thanks, by the way, for the nice things you said about my dad. I really was going to burn the letter, but the hangover was bad enough that I didn't really think before actually putting a stamp on the damn thing. See there, damn isn't so bad to write out. Anyway, you were far more understanding than you needed to be. Meanwhile, your few stories about him actually helped bring me down to earth again. Sure, I'm still mad. He made me feel awful even if he didn't mean it, and let's face it, if we were around and I told him, he would feel even worse than me, but yeah. He didn't let me get away with one-word answers either, and he did always bring me the prettiest flowers home. I guess I have you to thank for that, since his taste was always a bit out there. And therefore, I'm sure you did more than a little extra guiding. As to your question, he actually had somewhere between 400 and 500 bow ties, so that there were no 2 years where he would dress the same. I know he tried to be economical about them, but I still don't like to think of how many scholarships some of those designer ties could have bought. That being said, he gave plenty of those out as well, so thank you, television. My brother got the bow ties in the end. A few of the iconic ones are going to the Smithsonian, but most are either being auctioned off for his organization or given directly to those organizations that help dress people for job interviews. Once again, did I mention that my brother is a saint? 'Cause he is. Ugh. I realize I keep talking about him and that may be unpleasant for someone who doesn't know him. I hope you'll forgive me, though, since he's on my mind, and I'd rather think about him than my dad. Or maybe it's because he reminds me of my dad? If I ever decided to go to therapy, they could probably help me with that. Yesterday was the worst, though. Have you ever cried over pastry? That was a new one for me. You see, my dad liked to bring us cinnamon rolls on Sunday. He liked to go to church, and my mom didn't go, so we'd stay home with her. He didn't want to push anything on us. We loved it, though, since when he got back, he always brought cinnamon rolls. The first ones came from church ladies, and then he found a good bakery, and long story short, yesterday was my first Sunday since I was 3 years old not to eat a cinnamon roll. I even got them for myself in New York for a brief time there. I guess I could have gone out myself this weekend, but honestly, it still didn't feel worth it, so instead I cried over some scrambled eggs. Well, now that I've said all that, I kind of want to burn this letter again. This really wasn't what you signed up for, and I am sorry. Or maybe it is what you signed up for? The details are really escaping me here. Anyway, I'd love to hear about your yoga class to make up for my cinnamon roll monologue. I can barely touch my toes, so I'm impressed. The only yoga teachers I know are girls from high school who fit the traditional mold and your snobby, jealous ex-clientele are looking for. You should send them their way, and they can all be equally miserable together. And with that, I'm signing off. The blinking light on my router just turned blue again, and I am ready to enjoy worlds far more fun than this one. Sincerely, Rose. P.S. I realized it was kind of rude to not ask for a book recommendation from you since you are asking for TV recs from me. Please feel free to tell me what you are enjoying, and while I probably won't read it, I can maybe pass it on to some of my screenwriter friends to adapt for me. If you want. Just a thought.
Greenhouse is a production of Atypical Artists. It was written, directed, and edited by Lillian Holman. Alex Marshall Brown is the voice of Rose Green. The show art was designed by Emily Chen. Greenhouse is produced by Lauren Shippen, Brigham Snow, and Lillian Holman.